That's Matt Williams drinking water.
Kevin Baker is the guy. So without any hesitation, our new women's basketball coach, Coach Kevin Baker.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody involved, Dr. Naudilicio, Bob Stoll, everybody on the committee that when we went through the process, they were very thorough and professional and classy, all the things that you'd want them to be. And I feel very, very fortunate and very, very happy to be here today. And I could tell you that this is one of the happiest days of my life, but if you don't know me, you don't know why that would be. You know, most people in America, they have to take a job and then make it their dream job. That's what you have to do in most cases. Well, today I get to accept a dream job. And when I was younger, just to tell you a little bit about where I'm from and how where I'm from and how I got here. In 1994, I was 21 years old and I started coaching, and I used to tell people, I want to coach the biggest game at the highest level. I want to win a national championship at Division I. The only problem was at the age of 21, I had no idea what I was talking about. I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I had no idea the sacrifices that you really have to make to do that. I was just a young kid, sounded good, so that's what I told everybody who would listen. So I was a little bit uninformed, shall we say. But I knew for me, and what I was going to have to do to excel in this profession, I was going to have to win. So no matter what I did, no matter what job I took, I was going to have to win to elevate, to do whatever it was to get where I wanted to be. And that's really, really hard. And I had an athletic director tell me several years ago that no matter what job you take, there's going to be a point in the middle of the night, you're going to wake up and you're going to put your head in your hands and you're going to say, oh my goodness, what have I done? Why did I come here? I think I might have bitten off more than I can chew. And I can tell you that almost every stop along the way, that is exactly what has happened. But you roll your sleeves up and you go to work. And I was very fortunate. I climbed the ladder in 3A, 4A, 5A. And when I got to the point where I said, okay, I really want to make the jump to college basketball, I was knocking on the collegiate door and nobody was listening. I couldn't get an interview. I couldn't get anybody to talk to me. But I just decided I wasn't going to quit. And I knew I was going to have to take an assistant's job to be able to elevate my career. I had been a high school head coach for 10 years, so I really didn't want to do that, but I knew I needed to. And Krista Gerlich hired me at West Texas A&M. We were there for 5 years, had an unbelievable amount of success, and I was offered the head coaching job at the University of Texas in Tyler. It was there that we went to the Sweet 16, and I coached a couple All-Americans, and I was offered the job at Angelo State. And my time at Angelo State was awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Dr. May, president of Angelo State, and James Reed, the athletic director at Angelo State, were very good to me in my 2 years. But at the end of the day, this has been a 23-year climb. And so when I tell you that this is the happiest day of my life, I can mean it because it took me very, very long to get here. And that's why I think I can stand up here and give you some genuine joy in that my climb was not easy. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but it's made me a better coach. It's made me a better person, and I hope it is my goal that I'm here to stay for a long, long time. You know, Keitha Adams does not know me. She's never met me. She doesn't know who I am, but I know her. You know, it's very easy to, I mean, she's one of these people that it's very well known what she did here. It's very well known that what she did with UTEP Women's Basketball. There's no question, and I like the way you put it. She's a legend, and that can never be taken for granted or taken away. That's fact. And when you come into a situation that I'm in, it's pretty simple for me. I just want to build on what she did. You know, I'm not looking at it any other way than that, and that's what I want to do here. And I think we can, and I know we can. You know, and the last thing I want to say is this. I'm proud of a lot of things in my career, a lot. But the number one thing that I'm most proud of is that every school that I've ever coached at, ever, from 1994 until now, we've won a championship, multiple championships. And I'm proud of that, but it wasn't easy. And for you guys to do that, it's not going to be easy for you either. But we can, and we will. And that's how it's going to be. I want to thank everybody for coming today, and I would appreciate any questions you guys might have for me.
I guess you really don't have to change your recruiting base, do you?
Not at all. About 80% Texas, you know, that's our recruiting base. I always tell people you got to protect the backyard, and the backyard is Texas. It's just the deal is we have the biggest backyard there is, so the biggest one there is. So we're going to recruit Texas hard, but nowadays you got to recruit nationally and you got to recruit internationally. That's just how it goes. So yeah, but we'll start with Texas, that's for sure.
Coach, Bo Bagley, local NBC affiliate in Channel 9. Nice to meet you. Welcome to El Paso.
Thank you.
Tell me about your recruiting philosophy and what you've seen, and have you met the players prior to this news conference, and what you look for in the player?
Really easy what I look for in a player, and I can appreciate the question, and thank you for asking. We recruit winners, and I know that you think, well, of course you do, right? Well, even when I was a high school coach, I would go down to the junior highs, and I wouldn't look for the best player in my 7th and 8th grade system. I would look for your winners, the kids that had the best body language, the kids that responded to their coaches, the kids that tried the hardest. Even though they weren't the best, they still were the ones that put forth the most effort. And we still do that to this day. When we go recruit, it's not good enough to find a really good player. Not anymore. Now you got to look deeper. Now you've got to watch closer. You've got to watch the little things like the body language and how well they respond to coaching, how well they respond to criticism, really, how well they respond to a bad call made by an official. Those are the things that you look for in addition to, are they talented enough? Do they do the little things? Are they a blue-collar worker? We do all that stuff. Of course we do. And we're going to bring in the best talent that we can find. But we also want to bring in the best people that we can find, too. It's just not good enough these days to just bring in talent to have talent. You've got to have more, and we're going to push for more.
What was the process like? I guess as soon as you saw the job, you noticed it was what you wanted to know.
You know, there's certain jobs that, especially for me, that you covet, you know, that you always kind of look at as, hey, I'd really like to have that job one day, or I'd really like to be considered for that job. There are certain jobs that you covet. Well, this was certainly one of them. But the problem is, and I shouldn't call it a problem, but Keitha was going to be here for 40 years, so why bother, you know? So that's one of those things where everybody would want to be considered to come here, but nobody's dumb. We know the deal. So when it came open, we were all the coaches across the country, I think, were a little shocked. And but that's it. That's the way it is. When you go home, you go back to home like she did. Jobs like this come open. So that's the process, and that's kind of how it went.
What were you feeling when Bob first called and told you that you were one of the candidates?
Disbelief, shock, but it was also a great feeling too, because you know you wonder one of the things you wonder the most is when you put together winning seasons and winning teams and championship programs, you wonder if anybody really notices. You know, because I've got at my house, I've got a shoebox full of rejection letters of, you know, we're going to go another direction. You know, we're going to do this instead of that. And I kept them all. You know, these days you got to print out the email, but still at the same time, you keep all of them, and, you know, you get them out and you read them, and it kind of humbles you a little bit, and you roll your sleeves back up and you go back to work. And so I was really excited, but, you know, in an interview process where you're just a candidate, you have to temper that excitement quite a bit. You have to stay calm and say, maybe this will happen. Just stay calm. We'll see how it goes. But I'm certainly confident in my abilities to coach and to lead and all of those things. But sometimes you just never know how these searches are going to go. And that's why I'm just so appreciative that they noticed the hard work and the accomplishments.
You had much chance to go back and look at last season, the players that come back.
Not as much as I would like, but I will tell you what I have done so far is I did something kind of strange. I watched the first game of the year, and I watched the last game of the year because I wanted to see how far they had come. I wanted to see their growth. I wanted to see which player could do certain things that maybe they couldn't do the first time around, the first game of the year. And to be honest with you, and you guys know this, it's almost a night and day difference. And for most teams that it is. But for young teams like they had last year, you really see a really impressive change in style, dynamic, and everything else that goes with it. So, and chemistry too. The chemistry was quite a bit different when you looked at the last game from the first, which you would expect. So,
Coach, your thoughts on competing in Conference USA?
well, I tell you, I'm looking forward to that challenge. It's one of those things that I've always wanted to do. Not just be a Division I coach. It's not that. I wanted to coach against the best. You know, and some of my assistant coaches through the years will watch because they'll tell you that I get really excited or really happy on the inside when I have to coach. So like if it's a close game and somebody makes an adjustment, I'll look at our bench and I'll say, ooh, I got a coach tonight. They're prepared. They're ready. They know what we're doing. And I love that because I'm like, there's some games where we were really good and I got to watch the show like everybody else, but I craved that somebody prepare, show me that you're ready for our stuff so that I have to adjust too. I love the chess match, and sometimes you don't get to do it. And when you do get to do it, you appreciate those moments and say, wow, this person on the other end over there, they can really coach. So I've got to really be ready, and I've got to be extra prepared. And Conference USA is that way. They got a lot of great coaches. So I could not be more pleased with the opportunity to coach against those people and obviously learn from those people as well.
What's your schedule and philosophy like on conference play?
Well, it really depends on the team that you have. You know, normally I schedule really, really tough. If I know we've got a really good team and I know what we're capable of doing, we'll schedule really tough and kind of dangle the carrot in front of our players and say, every game on our schedule is really difficult, so you can't take this practice off. You can't take this drill off. You've got to do everything you can to prepare for the next game. Also, I've had teams in the past that are really, really young. So I've had to kind of back off on scheduling. And I don't say schedule lighter, but schedule smarter. And so that's one of the things that you have to do sometimes. But the general rule in basketball coaching is you really need to schedule as tough an opponent as you can anyway. Because if you don't, even if you schedule somebody that you can beat by 40, you really haven't gotten better in that game. You really haven't improved. So it's really better in the long run to schedule tough. You may drop some early, and that's okay. It's more about the growth from beginning to end anyway. So the tougher the better most of the time.
What kind of style do you like to play?
Really depends on the hand that we're dealt. I've played just about every style that you can play. If you ask me if I had the perfect team and the perfect recruiting class, exactly what I wanted to do, which never really happens. I can tell you that I like to press, I like to get up and down, shoot a lot of threes, do those things. The last couple of years we've been number one and number two in the country in scoring, but we played a style that catered to that scoring. But I've also had teams in the past that were in the top 5 in the country in defense. So we had to slow the game down on offense and really guard people. So it's certainly, I'm a fan of the game just like everybody else. I like to watch teams get up and down in transition and shoot the three and press and all that kind of stuff because that's fun to watch. But sometimes you don't have that team, and sometimes you got to find other ways to get it done and have to work a little harder at it. I think we're in the ballpark of 3 or 4. Yes, we have. I think the minute I got the phone call, I hung up, called my parents, and then I called a couple of recruits. So it's the nature of the job. It's what we do. And my dad was funny about it. He said, I'm just glad you called us first because sometimes you don't. So I'll take it. But speaking of my parents, I know they're watching today. They hate that they couldn't be here, but I know that they're here. So.
I guess you look like an East Texas guy, but you kind of become a West Texas guy here in the last few years.
I guess so, but I don't. they call San Angelo West Texas, and they call West Texas A&M in the Panhandle, they call that West Texas as well. But I can tell you I'm finally in West Texas now. But I don't know if those other two places really were. But yeah, I started out in East Texas, and I gradually started working west, and now you can't go any further west. So, but I am glad to be here for sure.
How do you see the guaranteed championship? How do you find out enough?
You know, that's a great question, and I appreciate you asking it because I like to talk about it. You know, if you looked at my resume and you said, okay, how'd you win a championship here? How'd you win a championship here? How'd you win a championship here? And then, of course, your question of how are you going to continue to do it? Well, really, it's the same thing, the same formula everywhere. We can recruit 12 to 15 players and throw them in a room and say, you guys love each other, everybody get along all the time, and let's go win a championship. But the fact of the matter is this, every one of your players, in order to win a championship, must buy into your vision that you have for them individually and for them as a team. If you have people going rogue on you and you have people that aren't bought in and people that aren't with you, it's certainly harder to win that championship. And, you know, the bottom line is if the common thread between every team that I've coached that's won championships has been we are all in together. And that means sometimes I might sacrifice a little playing time for someone else who's playing better than I am right now, but I'm happy for her, and we win. You know, it's what is that old thing where people say it doesn't matter who cooks because we all eat? Well, if you buy into that philosophy, you're going to be a whole lot better. Now, I do realize that's a very simplistic thing, but I will tell you this, that you can't win a championship without it. So you've got to have that, and that comes from the moment, the second, the day you start recruiting them. You know, you got to build that trust and the expectation that we're in it to win championships here, and we won't settle for anything less than that. So it's buying into the vision, it's stating the expectation, and then going out and executing that expectation.
The staff, are you going to keep the two coaches and then hire?
You know, that's a big question mark for us right now. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do right now, but I'm going to take a few days to think about it and talk things over with a lot of people before we make any decisions of any kind. Thanks.
Don't forget to subscribe and like, and we'll catch you in the next video.